Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is Instrument Maniac. Today's video is going to be a little bit different, as you can tell by the title. Those of you that have followed me for a while now know that I only own an alto saxophone, and I've used that thing into the ground in terms of when I want that saxophone jazz sound. For the past few months, every morning when I wake up, I check Craigslist. I have a tag set for tenor saxophone, so I get an email when someone posts a tenor saxophone, because that's what I've been looking to expand my saxophone collection into. A tag went off one day for tenor saxophone, and I looked at the ad, and it looked strangely like an alto. I realized that it was not a tenor or an alto. It was the rare in-between member, C Melody Saxophone. Now you may be saying to yourself, Luke, I thought there were only 4 saxophones, the soprano, the alto, the tenor, and the baritone. And you wouldn't be wrong. Generally, those are the saxophones that are played today.
Le brief saxophone history.
The saxophone was invented by Adolphe Sax in the 1800s. And it was his way of bridging the woodwind and the brass section by creating an instrument that kind of had qualities of both, and that would help blend in the orchestra a lot more. His initial idea was to have essentially a saxophone section that was a saxophone quartet in the orchestra. Adolphe created 2 separate families of saxophone initially. One family was pitched in C and F, and these were meant to be the orchestral saxophones. And then there's another family, which we know now as kind of the saxophones, that were pitched in B flat and E flat, and these were intended for military band use. So all in all, because each family had 7 instruments when they were first constructed, there were 14 possible saxophones initially. And one of these saxophones that was on the orchestral side was actually the C Melody Saxophone. The advantages of C Melody Saxophone, especially in orchestra, is that it's not a transposing instrument, so automatically it's a lot easier to write for to begin with. Also, the C Melody was known for having a more mellow tone and therefore could blend better. But one of the main issues and why you don't see saxophone in the orchestra today is that Adolphe's personality really rubbed people the wrong way. Through a bunch of things he did, he ended up getting shunned from the Parisian music scene. And David Composer actually has a really good video that I'm going to link to, and he explains and he goes in depth on how crazy it is that we don't have a saxophone in the orchestra now. Departing from the saxophone history and focusing on this specific C melody, the company Conn created the first US saxophone in 1888. So in the height of their saxophone building in the 1910s and 1920s, they had many different varieties, including the C sopranino, the F conn-o-sax, the C melody, and even a bass sax. So you may be saying to yourself, why don't we see any C melodies today? And that actually winds back to the great moment in history, the Great Depression. When the Great Depression happened, the saxophone market was hit pretty hard because saxophone was considered like a luxury good. Leading up to the Great Depression, Conn went buck wild in terms of saxophone production in many different keys. There's even a story where they had so many that they would use their F sopranino saxophones, which are really rare and hard to find now, and they would drop them on the floor, purposely denting and damaging them, just so the instrument techs in training could learn how to repair saxophones. They realized that they had nowhere to sell them because people just weren't buying saxophones. They were trying to survive and eat. After the Great Depression ended, Conn really never picked up production again of their more exotic lines of saxophones, mainly because people had only heard a lot of the popular ones, the main 4, and so composers were only writing for those main 4. And it started this vicious cycle where, because no one was writing for it and no one was playing it, they didn't produce them, which means less people wrote about them, and it just continued and continued till today, where we really just have the top 4. We're seeing actually a little bit of a resurgence and a renaissance of the C melody and some of the other tunings. You have a few companies that are making new C melodies, as well as restored C melodies and other saxophones coming on the market. So a bit more about this particular saxophone. Looking at the serial number, it was made in about 1922, so this baby is 97 years old, and it's in fully playable condition, which I find absolutely mind-blowing. The second thing is, this particular kind of saxophone, Conn would hire professional engravers to engrave the bell, so I'll include some shots right here of how cool the designs are. This brand of saxophone was called the Conn New Wonder Artist Special. The engraving is unique in the sense that it's not one of the standard 7 engravings that came with it, so whoever originally got the saxophone had a specific engraving in mind. So here is what the C Melody Saxophone sounds like. Compare that to what the alto saxophone sounds like. Now you can see that the C Melody has kind of a darker tone, and it's a little bit more along the lines of a tenor saxophone in terms of its mellower quality. So that's kind of a short overview of the C Melody and a little bit of sax history. Thanks for watching. If you want me to do more of these kind of historically videos, talk out my butt, let me know. And if not, I'll just stick to playing music. Anyways, check me out on Facebook, Luke Pickman Music, on Instagram at LukePK, and Instrument Maniac on YouTube. Check out my Patreon, patreon.com/instrumentmaniac for full MP3s and sheet music. And finally, I will see you next Wednesday at 5:30. Okay, bye.